Shalini and I was born and raised in a small town in Malaysia. A short inspirational quote that has impacted my life is this quote from an animated movie called Meet the Robinsons, where the main character and many other characters in the movie constantly say the phrase keep moving forward. And to me, this phrase means to continuously put effort and to see my failures as lessons through self reflection and to also find motivation in the potential of new experiences rather than getting stuck in what's already happened in my life. I have been in the UK since September 2021, so as of this recording, it should have been nearly 4.5 years since I've came to the UK to pursue my career at the Bar of England and Wales. I first discovered IFBM through LinkedIn in a post that had highlighted the increase in the salary threshold for the skilled worker visa and how it is now affecting incoming pupils and also new tenants from international backgrounds. And through following IFBM, I noticed that there were few Malaysian barristers who had succeeded in a career here and are also affiliated with IFBM. And that intrigued me because I always had the impression that it would be very nearly impossible for an international applicant, especially a person of color, to become a barrister here. After a few months of following IFBM, I applied to become a mentee and I was then put on the wait list due to the scheme being at full capacity for that year. I then saw that they were advertising for the role of volunteer coordinator, and that one of the perks of this role would be that the volunteer coordinator would be mentored by the founder of IFBM, Nia Marshall, who's also a barrister at Exchange Chambers. And that, along with the insight of getting to meet other barristers of international backgrounds, was something that made me consider applying to the role. I've also had years of experience working with a few similar volunteer based organizations, and it's just something that I've always loved doing. The benefits of being a VC with IFBM, I would say the biggest benefit for me so far has just been the mentoring under Nia. It's just been a completely eye opening experience, and the growth that I've experienced in these last 6 months have just been incredible. Um, there are many things that I've learned in the 6 months that I think I definitely would not have gotten the chance to learn without the insight of someone from an international background who has succeeded in a career here. And also with the other duties in the role. So, firstly, with coordinating with mentees and mentors. This is something that has also been really interesting to me because I've been able to witness so many different pathways people have taken to pursue a career at the Bar of England and Wales. And also just seeing the kind of work people have been putting in and what exactly it means to pursue a career here for them. Just hearing the different outputs of people have just been a really interesting experience. Following that, another duty that I have is to make weekly posts for our social media accounts. So IFBM posts twice a day on weekdays, except Friday where we make one post. And with those posts, we have to research upcoming opportunities such as mini pupilages, marshalling schemes. Maybe InfCord has made a podcast. Chambers are running workshops, those kind of events. And with advertising those opportunities, I've also begun applying for those opportunities alongside doing the posts for them. So in a way, it's also been pushing me to go out and venture for more opportunities that are available for people pursuing the bar here. Additionally, I would say that 2025 has been a really big year for IFBM. IFBM has attended three pupillage fairs, so one in Liverpool, one in Manchester, and the one in London. And in these fairs, we've had the chance to meet with many mentees who we've only been conversing with through email, also people who have been following IFBM, but mentors as well. And it's just been a really eye-opening experience to meet these people face to face and hear what they have to say and hear how IFBM has helped them through their journey to pursuing a career here. Final benefit of working with IFBM. As I'm only one of the volunteer coordinators, we do have two other volunteer coordinators at the moment, that being Saujanya and Victoria. And working with three people as a team, especially how each of us are at a different stage of our careers at the moment, has been a good experience. And with teamwork, you learn when to work together and when you're able to pursue things individually, also when to fall back onto your teammates for help. So I think that's just one skill that I've learned to improve more on through this role. Brief overview of my legal journey. I completed my LLB at the University of Hertfordshire in 2024 and I achieved a first class in my degree. That same year in September, I joined the bar course and LLM at Cardiff University, which I then completed in August of 2025. I achieved a high very competent on the bar course and a distinction in my LLM. Following that, in September of 2025, I joined as a county court advocate with Ashley Taylor's Legal, and I've now joined as a county court advocate with Quest Legal Advocates as well as of January 2026. And with these two roles, I've been handling many different types of claims, mainly landlord and tenant work, road traffic accidents, small claims matters, and infant approval settlements as well. As of now, I've completed three mini pupilages to date. The first one was with 42 Bedford Row in London through a scheme with bringing disability to the bar. And another one, the second one was with Angel Chambers in Swansea through a placement scheme with the university. And finally was a remote mini pupillage with Four Palm Court in London. I've also gained some marshalling experience through the Grace Inn marshalling scheme, where I shadowed a circuit judge at the Cardiff Civil and Family Justice Centre. Impact the legal studies has had on my pursuit of a career here. During my undergrad, my university was one that primarily focused on the solicitor's route, and I was a little on the fence before joining the bar course due to this. My uni had lots of talks on the LPC, the SQE, what it's like to be a trainee solicitor, the kind of experience that would help you qualify for the SQE, and there was barely anything about the barrister's route. I was aware that barristers needed to do the bar training course. I was aware that there's pupillage, and I was aware that pupillage was hard to achieve. Despite not knowing much, I still went into the bar course because one of the main reasons was that even if I was unable to succeed in getting pupillage here, I would still be able to qualify as a advocate and solicitor in Malaysia through the bar course. But when I joined the bar course, that changed my mindset completely. Within the first 1-2 weeks, I was completely sure of what I wanted to do. The kind of work that you do on the bar course, especially learning the procedural rules for civil litigation and the criminal procedural rules, and then learning about the advocacy skills. So, what kind of submissions do you make in court? How do you address a judge? How do you speak to your clients? Also, witness handling. So, all skills that really made me sure that this is the career I wanted to pursue. I loved the problem solving aspect of it. So, having sent case studies about a week before the class, having to prep for them, show up to class, and then do essentially perform the advocacy in front of your class, and then getting feedback from your tutor. It was just an experience that I actually completely enjoyed. Something unique about my legal journey. So I was a rental rights workshop facilitator with a local housing charity in Wales. So what that means was I had to conduct 2-hour workshops regarding rights renters would have in the private rented sector in Wales, as the rental law in Wales differs quite a bit to the rental law in England. And during these workshops, it was an eye-opening experience seeing how people were living in terrible conditions, how landlords were taking advantage of these people, and I learned how to adapt the law and explain it to people who did not come from a legal background. and it was quite rewarding to see how these people ended up learning from my workshops and moving on to better properties. Work experience that will assist in securing pupillage. I would like to highlight my current work experience, so the role of County Court Advocate with Ashley Taylor's and Quest. Um, Before I joined these companies, before I joined mainly Ashley Taylor's at first, I knew that I was lacking in advocacy experience on my CV, as I barely did any mooting or any mock trial competitions in my undergraduate years. And when I joined Ashley Taylor's, I realized that this role in particular is the closest thing that I could get to becoming a barrister, as I was self employed and I managed my diary between two different companies, and that means knowing when to accept or reject cases depending on where the courts are located, the types of listings they'd be under, whether I would have enough time to prep for these cases. Another thing that I've learned to improve on through this role is my interpersonal skills. As a neurodivergent, I do struggle with communication sometimes, and through this role, I've learned to liaise with the other party, so my opponent, maybe the opponent's representative, my lay client, my instructing solicitors, the court appointed duty solicitor, ushers, and the judge as well. A lot of people have this misconception that when you're a barrister, you're just talking to your judge, but that's definitely not the case. There are so many parties involved before the hearing even comes to court, and you're expected to liaise with all these parties, and the way you speak to all these parties differs depending on their background, and that's something I've learned to improve on through this role. Another thing that this experience has taught me is that it's also sharpened my judgment. um, the more and more I go for cases, the more and more I see how judges react to certain things and what they think of certain things. I've now been able to predict the outcome of my cases much better than before. And because of that, it ties back in with interpersonal skills. I'm able to manage my clients' expectations much better now. These are all skills that I believe that most chambers are looking for. If not, some chambers even prioritize these skills over other skills. And these are also skills that I think I still have some weaknesses in. Therefore, I should practice and continuously improve them, trying to secure pupillage. As an international applicant keen to pursue a career at the Bar of England and Wales, I would say my two biggest challenges right now, firstly is imposter syndrome, and secondly is the struggle with code switching. So I'll tackle imposter syndrome first. With imposter syndrome, my struggles right now is when I'm sitting in a courtroom and I have my judge in front of me, I have my lay client, I have the opposition and maybe a duty solicitor with them. When you're sitting in the environment, especially as a person of color, the only person of color in that room, the only person with a different accent in that room, I can't help but feel the imposter syndrome kick in. So, do I actually have the right to be there as a person with the right experience, someone as someone who can be dependent on by my clients? Another struggle which ties in together with imposter syndrome is the struggle with code switching. Um, as a Malaysian, I'm fluent in three languages, and in Malaysia, when we speak English, there is absolutely no proper grammar used at all. There's a mix of three different languages, four different languages whenever we speak. So especially when coming to the UK, learning to speak in proper English using the proper tones, as with the way I speak Malaysian English, so Manglish, we're always quite straight to the point. There's no such formalities or whatsoever. We don't ask you how's your day, that kind of thing. And with that, I've also with the struggle of code switching, there's also that struggle of articulating my words, and this is something that, especially in the early on stages, I think I've improved on it over time. But in the early stages as a county court advocate, it was something that I think was quite obvious to many people. where there are times my opponent has said something and the judge turns to me and they're asking me for my submissions, and I have it in my head. In my head, I'm thinking in Manglish essentially, and to put it down into proper English, especially court language for the judge, was a bit of a struggle in the beginning. But over time, I think it's improved. Also, the struggle with speaking to clients sometimes, because there is a difference when speaking to your lay client or your professional client, and having to speak that proper English with the proper grammar, with the proper terms, was a bit of a struggle sometimes. As there are times where I do get frustrated in my head and I am so tempted to just blurt things out in Manglish, but I do not do so. Now, before people think I haven't improved on these skills, with imposter syndrome, firstly, this is something that just I think gets better with confidence, and that's something that I've been trying to work on through my mentorship with Nia as well. Um, and especially with IFBM, seeing all the other mentors on the list, seeing how they all come from various different backgrounds, how not everyone has a British accent. There are people who lived in their home countries for 20 years, maybe even 30 years, and then coming here for a career. And if they can do it, then I can also do it. That's something that I've been pushing into my head quite a lot these days. I've I've done the bar course, I've done the law degree, I've passed everything, I would say with flying colors, and I would say I am well versed with the law that I've been assigned to do work on. And with that, I just need to build on my confidence. So it's been just me stepping into a courtroom and thinking like, wow, out of all the people here, I'm the only international applicant. So that means I've done something right. Not that I'm here because I don't deserve to be here. And the struggle with code switching and articulating my words, especially with in court in front of judges, I've now started taking pauses. This is something that Nia has taught me a lot. To take a pause, take a deep breath, ask the judge for a moment. Sometimes I write my words down. I write down what my opposition has said. I write down just in bullet points what I want to say, and then I take a moment and I just say it out to the judge. And I realized that this worked from this one specific case. And at the end of the case, the judge called me back in and he told me that I performed exceptionally. And he was also a person of color. And at the time, hearing it from a judge, especially after feeling like I hadn't done well in the early stages of my career, was something that I found very heartwarming, and something that has also pushed me to improve on my submissions and the way I speak as well. And with the way I speak to clients and lay clients and my professional clients, it's also the same thing that I've been implementing, taking a pause, thinking of what I have to say and saying it. Also working on small talk as well. Something that I've been trying to implement so hardly is small talk, and I think so far the confidence my clients have in me has been improving, and this is something that obviously has been improving over time with the constant practice of going to court, speaking to people and making submissions. So two of my proudest moments as an international applicant in pursuing a career here, firstly I would say, is achieving a high very competent on the bar course. um, when I was in my undergrad year, I was thinking of going to a uni in London for the bar course, but I decided to essentially take 1 year off, move far away from friends. I went to Cardiff and I took that 1 year as a year to get my bearings in order, to become as disciplined as I possibly could, to achieve the best that I could. Because up till then, my first 3 years in law school, what I learned was that most Malaysians do not pass the bar course on their first attempt. Every single person I spoke to told me that it would be impossible to pass the bar course on their first attempt, and it would definitely take 2 to 3 attempts to pass the course completely. And one thing that scared me after hearing that was that if I delayed passing any of my bar course modules, that would affect my visa. I would not be able to progress from the student visa to the graduate visa without taking an extension. And it's hard to predict whether I would even be given that extension in the first place. So I knew that I had to pass the bar course on my first attempt, and I put in the hard work. I was completely disciplined in it. I did not make any friends in my first semester, although I wouldn't suggest that is actually a good thing. I completely focused on the course, and at the end of it, I achieved a very competent. I achieved an outstanding in a few of my modules, and that is something that I am extremely proud of, because of having people constantly tell me that no, it's not possible, and then having done what people deemed the impossible. It's just a very happy moment for me. The second thing would be when I achieved my first mini pupillage offer. Um, the same thing with the bar course. I had many Malaysians telling me that it was impossible to get a mini pupillage. That getting a mini pupillage is as hard as getting pupillage itself, and I would have better luck just coming back to Malaysia and doing my pupillage, or they call it chambering. So doing my chambering in Malaysia. But I was pretty adamant that if I've already spent so many years in education here, so many years pouring money into the visas and the university fees and my rent and everything, I wanted to pursue a career here. I was absolutely adamant about it. And I started applying to mini pupillages only during my bar course. And my first mini pupillage, which was with 42 Bedford Row in London, I achieved only through applying applying through a mini pupillage scheme with bringing disability to the bar. When I achieved that first mini pupillage offer, I was honestly like super happy. It was something that I never knew I could have achieved. And from then on, I knew that with achieving all these things that people have constantly been telling me that I cannot achieve, that just means that getting pupillage is something that I can also achieve. So, to all the aspiring international barristers watching this video, I would say there are people like us out there in the UK who have succeeded in a career as a barrister. These are people of color, people with accents, people who probably didn't go to Cambridge or Oxford, and it is actually possible for people like us to achieve a career here. I would also say that there are a million opportunities out there. It's not even a joke. IFBM, like I mentioned earlier, posts twice a day, Monday to Thursday, about these opportunities. And there's also Legal Cheek that has this key deadlines calendar, which posts about upcoming deadlines for opportunities. Also, join IFBM. We have a great mentoring scheme for people. There are many, many mentors out there who are probably from the same background as you. And it's just something that I think international applicants must take advantage of. Other than IFBM, like I mentioned earlier, there's bringing disability to the bar, there's bridging the bar, there's I think Comba, and there's just many other organizations. Other than these volunteer organizations, I would say there's also opportunities that you can seek through your Inns of Court. So, marshalling schemes, they do have a mentoring scheme. I know Grace Inn has one for people who have applied to pupillage the year before but did not succeed. There's also They also provide advice for pupillage applications and pupillage interview exercises as well. And these are all things that we must take advantage of. These are all resources out there that people who have succeeded in pupillage have used before and have helped them in succeeding. I would say that it is impossible to succeed without any kind of help. There's no way to learn about this career without going in and asking questions and observing the work that's being done. So please take advantage of these kinds of opportunities.